Welcome to Two Women in Crypto, a weekly podcast birthed on a whim by two women who are excited about the cryptocurrency landscape and have a shared passion about empowering others to step into the digital, tokenized world of the future. We offer tips, tricks, and our own individual insights as to how to begin to navigate this shift. We are not financial advisors nor experts. We are just here to encourage you to look at the possibilities. So welcome to the future. You're right on time. Good morning from the beautiful Pacific Northwest. How are you today?
Good morning, Kelli. Doing well. Happy Friday.
Woohoo! Freya Friday. That's what I call it.
Brave Fridays. I love
Freya
it.
Friday. Yep.
Awesome.
Another interesting week in the markets, shall we say?
We shall say. You know, I was a little surprised. I listened to Jerome Powell speak the other day, and you know, he's been talking about tightening the monetary supply, creating less bonds, because as we all know, inflation is running hot. It's not transitory. So we need to tighten the monetary supply so inflation will go down. And everything that he said was 100% expected. I think he did a really good job. He was super articulate. And he is saying that by like the end of 2022, if we keep the interest rates, well, the interest rates right now are at 0, but he's going to double the pace of cutting back those bonds. So my immediate reaction was, this is great news for the stock market, for housing, and for cryptocurrency. And we're not really seeing that. There's a lot of fear around Omicron, and I hate to talk about it, but I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we're not seeing the stock market and crypto go up, right? Because right now, you know, the stock market and the cryptocurrency market are correlated. For now, they will break apart as crypto matures and gets more and more mass adoption. But, you know, any kind of fear in the market, it will affect crypto. And do you find that as well?
Fine. I think with the interest rates at it's a 40-year high to, you know, the whole thing right now. But I also find in my own diving into the technical analysis and some of these other teachers and, you know, that I'm following and getting involved with on the TA side, that there's also a really cyclical pattern that happens within the markets, right? And of course, we're in that time of year. I mean, there's so many factors right now, but the underlying undulation of quote unquote fear or uncertainty is certainly not our friend right now for it continuing upwards. But I'm looking at it, you know, the charts are going to give us, the markets are going to give us what they're going to give us. And all we can do is not be reduced to sitting in that place of fear on any topic, whether it be the viral load or the market movement or whatever. So that's the way I'm looking at it. But yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty out there.
Definitely. And you know, and when I was listening to Jerome Powell, and he said, he's like, you know, they're not going to raise interest rates until they're done tapering. And it's not like we're done tapering, we're not creating any more money. That's not what we're still creating $75 billion a month. We're just not going to create an extra $30 billion a month. So Jerome Powell said the tapering is going to end in March, and then we're going to look at raising interest rates. So in that like nugget of information, I'm thinking once people sell off, they have to pay their taxes, you know, it's still, you know, people are still taking profits because people who were in crypto and really in the stock market just a year ago have had a phenomenal year, right? Like at the end of the day, the market might be down now, but it's up a lot, you know, since December, you know, just a year ago. So, you know, I think once this all comes, I feel like, you know, we could really see a good January, February. Do you feel that way?
I do that, and following the numerology and everything else out. Yeah, I absolutely see that. I'm looking forward to what happens through the middle of January into February, and who knows? I mean, I think that at some point our patterns are going to change just based on what I'm seeing as Bitcoin, as cryptocurrencies become more in that adopted arena. That I think the whole market movement will begin to shift in its entirety, not just having the major markets, the S&P, the Dow, be the main influencer. I think that we're going to see a major shifting in how the markets move in its entirety. And I think we'll begin to see that next year, towards the mid to late next year for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and it was so interesting. So like this morning, Kelli sent me a quick YouTube video and I was listening to it in the shower because we're constantly trying to obtain as much information as we can, for our weekly talk. And there's over 200 million people that own a piece of Bitcoin. There's not 200 million people that own any other asset.
Right.
So it's just something to sit with. Like we are at the beginning stages of this mass adoption. And did you get a chance? I sent you that chart of the adoption curve. And it's like,
we'll
we
share
are
that
here.
Yep. We will share an image of that in the podcast. So please take a look at it. It's really powerful to really understand that, like at the beginning of that .com, we're right at the very beginning. And that's exciting. It's empowering for us to just know, to be patient, ride the waves, and share with our friends and family the importance of this time. Again, we're going to say this every time we're on together.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Because we're still, we're really in like the early stages still of adoption. I think, what is it, like 3-4% of the world owns crypto. So, again, it's just like, it's a bumpy ride. We shouldn't really be so concerned about the day-to-day prices, because when we zoom out, we know where we're heading. And again, it's just, what was it? Last week, we talked about Congress meeting with the 5 CEOs, of the leaders in the crypto industry. And then immediately we had a Senate hearing followed up this week talking about stable coins. So it's not a matter of if this technology is going to be adopted, it's a matter of when.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And and it was interesting just to kind of touch base real quick on that regulation meeting that the senators had. Not everybody in the Senate is on the same page. Like, it's pretty evident when I listen to it. And, kind of like taking a step back, it's like, we can't really expect the senators and all the people in the government to understand this new technology. Like, I was an IT recruiter for over 20 years. And the more I learn, the more I don't know. And that's just the honest truth. There's so much to it. So to look at like a Senator Warren, and she's talking about, how do we regulate these entities if there are no entities? There's no entities to regulate Bitcoin. But at the same time, and that's a great question. But like, if you listen to Brian Brooks, if you listen to the chair of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, we know that you regulate activities, not entities. So we need some time to work this out. And, and meanwhile, like in the background, and I don't know if you saw this, but like Nexo partnered with Fidelity Digital Assets.
Did see that. Yeah.
So, Fidelity Digital Assets manages $7 trillion of diversified assets. And this is like a new adoption phase. But like, I pulled up some of my old notes from like a while ago, and I was like, wow, JP Morgan let their clients, right? So these are accredited investors. You have to make $250,000 a year. You have to have a net worth of over $1 million. You can invest in the Bitcoin fund for our private wealthy clients. That's JP Morgan. And then we had the digital investment group say, hey, you know what? we're going to roll out the same thing for our wealthy clients. And that happened during the summer. MasterCard, Visa came out. They're directly working with the cryptocurrency networks. We had Forbes back in June of 2021 said 650 banks are going to offer BTC purchases, for enterprise payment companies. And it goes on and on. So again, people who have money, it's okay for them to risk their money. But when I go to this Senate hearing and I hear them call it a bunch of scammers and this is magic money, it infuriates me because the wealthy people get wealthier. And then the average person who puts on the news, they get scared and they're missing out and being part of the greatest transfer of wealth the world has ever seen. And I'm not saying go out and mortgage your house and put it all on XRP. That's not what Kelli and I say at all. But what we are saying is take the time and research it, because we have an opportunity before the later stages of adoption, which you could see on that chart that we're going to include.
I think everything you bring up is so very important. And I think there's another tier of society that is very concerned about what's happening with blockchain technology because of the transhumanism. And, I get it. I completely understand. Regardless, this is taking place. So our choices are, if you want to look at it as transhumanism or what have you, I want to be able to function in society, whatever society looks like, right? So if it's going to be using blockchain technology, I need to have the wherewithal to understand what that looks like so I can understand this. So people have got to begin, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, that it's better to be informed and empowered versus feeling like you have your back to the wall because you don't agree with the process. I want to understand what's going on. So there's a lot of debates going on out there about what's happening with the blockchain technology. But the point is, in all of these conversations, is it's been happening in our worlds for a long time now. Big corporations are using them to track their goods and services and all kinds of different things. So it's here to stay regardless. So let's all get on the bus so we can all participate in a way that is, even if it's at the very, very tip of the iceberg, that's better than not understanding it. It's so very critical, I think.
And you're 100% right, and just touching base on like transhumanism and the blockchain system, it's one of the reasons I've unplugged because, back in 2005, I know there's a lot of people that don't know me, but I have a master's degree in counseling. I have a degree in nutrition. I kind of, I'm a researcher, it's just who I am. I always research things. I dig deep. I look for the truth, right? Because I question everything. And back in 2005, I told people, hey, look, there's going to come a time in our lifetime where we're going to have the choice, hopefully the choice, of getting microchipped. And with the Internet of Bodies, which is a real thing, it just Google Internet of Bodies, and I kept getting censored every time I would try to educate people on the data revolution, the Internet of Bodies, Neuralink, which is a company that's owned by Elon Musk. We are, I am not going to merge with the machine, but I think a lot of people want this. And again, when Kelli and I talk about decentralized systems and centralized systems, do you want to own your data, or do you want Microsoft, Google, and Facebook to own your data? Because I'm telling everybody, these algorithms are so sophisticated. We will not know if our thoughts are our own. And just sit with that, because we're bombarded with all of this information all of the time. And it's like the most important thing as we steer the new financial system and the new, really like a new democratization and tokenization of society, it has to be private. It has to be anonymous, because if it's not, we're the United States of China. I'm not a political person, but I don't want to be on a social credit score where you're monitoring every step I take, every move I make. Okay. And it's important. And again, I wasn't going to do this until later, but we have Charles Hoskinson on our side, you know, and I get like really, really emotional about this because I don't know if people truly understand what this means. Like if you say somebody to transhumanism, it's so esoteric, right? It's so far out there.
Yeah, for a lot of people, absolutely.
So I came across Charles Hoskinson speaking.
So nobody can see, you know, because again, we're still only on audio, but I am watching on, you know, Andrea is just so full of love and her heart's just bursting and I can just feel the emotion coming forward. So please share what you know, because this is going to be really good and
Awesome.
important.
So this was a direct quote from what Charles Hoskinson said. He is the co-founder of Ethereum and he started Cardano. He said, "It wasn't us who charged 15% to some of the poorest people in the world to move money home to take care of their parents. It was the people who ran the old system. It wasn't us in this industry who charged 85% interest to lend $100 to a subsistence farmer desperately trying to survive after a drought. It was the legacy financial system. It wasn't our industry who laundered hundreds of billions of dollars for drug dealers, evaded sanctions, participated for oil for food, and all kinds of horrible programs that ended enriching and empowering some of the worst human beings the world has ever known. It was the legacy financial system. Our industry is the antidote to the excesses, corruption, and nepotism that we found. We are going to change the world. It's that simple. We didn't ask for permission. We came here and we are going to get it done together. There is simply too many people now. The markets and the innovations are too big. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when and how these dinosaurs survive in this new world order."
Bam. That's all that needs to be said. And I can just, I mean, and he's spot on, all of it. There are too many people that get it now that we can't go backwards. There's no way. We can't.
We can't go backwards. And again, it's like, it's just a matter of keeping things decentralized. So important.
Who was it recently? And I know that we have many topics to cover that was talking about, there was a quote, was it Elizabeth Warren? I can't remember, that says decentralized systems are the nemesis, right? That is where the major concern is, of course.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, it's so interesting because you have Circle who applied, you know, for a banking charter, and right away they just said no and rejected them. So it's like, you know, we have to start asking these questions like, who are these people getting their funding from? Where's the lobbying money coming from? Because that's how pretty much like up until now, this is how laws get made. The pharmaceutical companies, the banking industries, they go and they meet with the senators and the congressmen and they give them millions of dollars, you know, when they go and run for government. Are they doing what's best for the people? Have our lives gotten better or worse over the past couple of years? Our system is falling apart and it needs to happen. And this is like the most exciting time to be alive because we are part of the change. We are the change we want to see in the world, you know, and that's why Kelli and I do this every single week, because we know how important it is to create an inclusive financial system that benefits everyone and not the elite few. You know, it's really interesting because this happened like a while ago, but Gary Gensler was talking to this guy, Tim Draper. And Tim Draper is, you know, he's a billionaire investor, super passionate guy. And he was talking to Gary Gensler on the stage and he was like, you know, when crypto first came out, and you can take any new industry, any new technology, and at first they ignore you. And Gandhi said this too, if you go back and look up Gandhi's quote. But first they ignore you, right? Because they want to keep the status quo. And then crypto or a new industry gets bigger. And now the regulators and the banking systems are like, shit, now we got to face this. We can't let this happen. We're going to sue them. What's a good example of this? Ripple. And everyone, their Coinbase wanted to pay 4% for the USDC, and the SEC threatened to sue them. And then at the end, what happens when you try to sue them, and then at the end, they start to plant press stories, they create all this fuss, they get their friends involved, and then they adopt it. So we're kind of in between this phase, and we're moving towards the adoption. They will adopt it. We need to get our voices heard. And there's so many of us. I don't think that the government realized how many people were in cryptocurrency and understand the importance of having a decentralized system that helps everybody get a piece of the pie and not just the bankers and the lawmakers.
Yeah, I think this window of time that we're in, not only with, the virus or whatever and blockchain together has been a perfect pairing, because people are like, I think in many ways it's like, oh, people had an forced opportunity to take a look at things and start. I think that's when people really started dipping their toe into the cryptocurrency markets. And I think that realization for people were like, oh, wow, there's a completely different way to go about and approach the world through this lens that, yeah, we're going through. It's going to be a bumpy road here, but that's okay. I'm all about a little bit of hiking and going up and down the hills and valleys. It's what life is. It's all good.
I mean, totally. And at the end of the day, we know what we own.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the key.
And we will not lose. Like when you look throughout history, love always wins. And when Kelli tells you, like, I'm full of love, like, love always wins. From the moment when I was a young person, it's just, you just know, you have a knowing. Like some people just know certain things, and I always knew, like, even when I would tell people back in 2005 and they would call me a nut and they would call me a conspiracy theorist, but I was looking at the World Economic Forum back in 2005 and I'm like, it's listed right here. And then you have all of the multi-billion-dollar corporations go to these meetings and it's like they huddle. It's like a football game. They all get into a huddle and they're like, okay, Germany, you're going to do this. And Russia, you're going to do this. America, you're going to do this. Okay, great. Go back to your countries, implement the plan. And now we're being like, screw you assholes, because people are getting poorer. Has homelessness gone up in your neighborhood or is it down? Because I see people suffering all around me and it's freaking heartbreaking. And we need to come together and make our communities. We, the people, have to take the individual responsibility to make the world a better place. No one is going to do it for you. I grew up gay in this country. I grew up with Republican conservative parents from the Bronx. It was a hard, bumpy road, but now it doesn't matter. And it didn't matter before they tried to socially engineer the way we speak, right? It's just the world has gotten more accepting, more loving, more kind to diversity and differences. You know what I mean? Like, and I can tell you as a minority, the world has gotten better for me. I can marry Rowan. I don't have to hide who I am. I don't have to live in shame, So it's like, it's huge. Yeah, it's huge. So when I hear Senator Warren and then this other freaking ding dong, what was his name? Senator Sherrod Brown. He's like, explain to me how this magic money works. Okay, Mr. Brown, well, here you go, because it's like, what's the dollar? What's the dollar backed by? Nothing. It's backed by the trust of the government. Who made the most money during the government shutdown of society? Who has made the most money in 2020?
Big corpse, all the, yeah.
You know, and all we see is the price of gas go up and the
Or your
price of food
groceries,
go up,
like you said,
you
you go to
know?
the grocery store, it's like, Jiminy Christmas. You know, I'm a
Yeah,
single individual and a dog. If I had a family to navigate and manage as far as putting food on the table and watch a 40% increase in my food costs, I mean, that's huge.
it's
That's
huge.
huge.
It's huge, you know? And like any single person, a single mom of two who has not even $500 in her savings account, and
Yeah.
and the price of food is doubled and the price of gas is doubled, you know, or you want to move into like a nicer home and now the rents have skyrocketed.
You know, I was a single parent. My kids are adults now, thank goodness. But they're, you know, we're all on our own little journeys, but I have such compassion for single parents. I mean, I have compassion for everybody that are like, you know, it's like how every week or every day they're like, how is this going to work? And I'm just, you know, encouraging people to lean into the trust, just trusting that things are going to fall into alignment. And you know, it's tough when you're having to navigate that pressure point, and it's a big pressure point.
Yep. Yep. And you know, and again, like, and I pray that Jerome Powell is right. You know, he's saying that by the middle towards the end of 2022, inflation will be cut in half. He's the same person who said that inflation was transitory. So let's just see, you know, like I want to have faith in some of these folks. They're, you know, I believe some of these people are just, they're between a rock and a hard place. And it's, you know, we created this monster. And I kind of feel like we created this monster so we can move into this new financial system, right? So
Well, we have
quicker.
to go, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it has to, the Band-Aids have to be pulled up, and we have to see all the uckiness in it, because if we were able to just skip over that, we wouldn't learn the lesson. We have to go through all the yuckiness of the truth being shown to us. And that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. And I almost, you know, it's like, I almost feel like we're evolving as a species. And like
Oh,
once,
absolutely.
yeah. And once we can transition into this new world, you know, more and more people will have the faith, will have the trust, will create the love and remember who they are. Because at the end of the day, we're all love, we're all light, we're compassionate human beings, full of empathy. And we cannot lose that. We cannot lose that for our neighbors, for our strangers. I mean, the best thing that we can do is go out and smile at someone, hold the door open for somebody, tell someone to have a nice day, tell the waitress or waiter you appreciate them. It makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
We're not robots. So you can try to hook us up to a machine through a microchip in our brain, but is that really where we want to go? These are just, and these are, yeah, these are questions we're gonna have to answer.
Yeah, right. But those are the things that are out there in the ethers that people are thinking about. But we are evolving, and it's a beautiful thing. We're a heliocentric, you know, we are evolving. There's nothing that we can do to change that. So we either get on the bus or we stay stuck in the mud. And, you know, so here we are.
Yeah, here we are. So when like a Senator Warren or a Senator Brown says, you know, they're calling, you know, digital currency, you know, or specifically Bitcoin, like magic money that's used for nefarious reasons, we all listen to this podcast. So we know that that's not true. Bitcoin is digital money that is sent from person to person without a bank intermediary. So if you don't need a bank, who's against it? The banksters, the senators who are receiving the money from the lobbyists, okay? And I double checked on the amount of nodes that were, and the nodes are kind of like the security. It's like, you know, my computer could be considered a node if I'm running the Bitcoin software to mine a Bitcoin. So there's 13,000 nodes. Can the government shut down Bitcoin? No. Good luck trying. You can't shut this down. And like Charles said, you can scramble, you can get on board with us and just do things better. Stop charging immigrants, right? There's all this talk about, you know, people don't have IDs and people, you know, are poor and we need these migrant workers, well, then do what's right. Have them send their money in Stellar, XRP, Algorand, whatever it is, use the Bitcoin Lightning Network so they can send their money to their families at a fraction of the cost without the intermediaries that are charging usury fees. And this is going to stop. And the SWIFT system, I looked up the date, November 2022, they're shifting over, they're going to, they're flipping the switch, so to speak, to their new system. So it's going to be a really interesting year.
I'm going to have to look that up and do the deep dive into the gematria around that shift, because that will tell an interesting story.
Oh, I'm looking forward to hearing that. Yeah.
That'll tell an interesting story.
And again, it's just like, when you hear these people say, how many people trust the United States dollar? How many countries are suffering because of the sanctions that the United States imposes on these countries? Are we helping them or are we hurting them? And when we talk about the blockchain and the democratization of society, there's no more hierarchy. We're creating a level playing field where everyone has a voice in the governance of the future. And that's the future we're creating. And it's going to be awesome. And I know it looks scary. And I know sometimes it's like, holy shit, we're going into like this dystopian world. But it's going to look like that. But that's not what's going to happen.
Well, it's always still going to fall back to that personal choice. You can immerse yourself completely and decide to live there. But I personally want to know, and like we've talked about many times, and we will continue to do so. But I tell you what, every day I am outside and I am engaging with nature. And that is my anchor point, because we will continue to shift over here. But we do have this anchor. We have, this beautiful world within which we live physically that we need to continue to be involved in. So yeah, we can go over here. We're going to do both. It's all going to be perfect and beautiful. Just got to be in the awareness around it. That's all.
That's it. And like you said, it's like, thinking about like nutrition. It's like, we have the best food in the world. We have the worst food. It's a choice. And it's the same thing. We have this decentralized system. And then we have the powers that be that are trying to take control of it to make it centralized. It's a choice. And we're gathering and we will continue to gather, and our numbers are going to grow, and we will help people shift into a new financial economy. And that's it.
All about empowering, awareness and empower.
Yep. And so Bitcoin, when you think about Bitcoin, it's like, you can't censor it. It's transparent. So when you hear these senators talk about money laundering and nefarious crimes, this is the antidote to that system. This system is transparent. It is secure. You can't censor it. You can't, so it's just like, it's just programmable money that we can now send just like an email. And we should be able to do this. If I can send you an email and you can get it in 3 seconds, why can't I send you money?
Well, exactly. And I have to share. So last night I was working with somebody that I've been empowering for a little bit of time here to get into the cryptocurrencies and things of that nature. So she's been holding some assets, but she last night opened up her Voyager account and we were moving some things around, and to watch her really become involved in her financial future, she's like, oh my gosh, I just moved my Cardano over here to Voyager, right? So I can earn 5% back. I just moved my Matic over here, and now I'm doing a reoccurring buy for Polkadot or whatever. I mean, it was wonderful for me to watch her light up to take control of her world moving forward, all on her own. And to me, that's what it is. It was like, that was the icing on the cake of my day yesterday. It's like, that's what it's all about for me. It's like, yeah, absolutely. This is what's possible.
Yeah. Yep. It's taking personal responsibility to empower yourself to have a brighter financial future. And that's what this is all about. And, it's so cool too, because I met with a couple folks during the week helping people transfer some of their money. And it's like, when you transfer Bitcoin, you could go food shopping, you could take a shower, you could clean the house, and you could keep checking. But when you send XRP, boom, it's in your account.
XRP is the fastest because last night, it's always wise, especially when you're first learning, to always test an address before you send your whole little bankroll that you have over here, to just take a few coins, send it just to make sure that everything's proper. But it took a while. It took it took probably about 40 minutes, which was long in that particular case. But it was a little stressful there. It's like, no, it's okay. It's all going to be, could be based on what is ever happening on the blockchain at the time. But XRP is the fastest. It is like right there. Boom, 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 boom.
And to see it in action and to see how the technology works, it's like, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's, like we always say, it's definitely going to be one of the biggest global bridge assets of the world. Just because of its speed, its scalability. I mean, a fraction of the cost. It's like 0.0001 XRP to send money. It's awesome.
Is XRP the one that and I have to remember, and this is probably just a side conversation, when I first bought XRP, and of course in the States, I did not use Uphold, which I think is what you were using. There's other ways you can get it, like through Atomic Wallet or through another decentralized system, like through SafePal, you can get it. But they always keep 20 XRP back as your fee. When I've moved my XRP out of my Atomic Wallet, they kept 20 to move it. And if I moved it again, because I had actually at the very beginning, I wasn't quite sure what I was doing, and I was moving things around, trying to find the safest place, yada, yada. And each time I moved my XRP, I lost 20. So if I go back to those wallets, there's 20 XRP sitting there, but I'll never be able to do anything with it.
I wonder if that'll change in the future. And I think it might be different, like every single exchange that you use. But, when I just helped like 3 people this week, like move their XRP offline.
And it was just a gas fee? No.
Yeah. And it was so cheap. It was just super cheap.
Yeah, that's great. So things are, like we said, things are evolving. I think there's going to be continuing shifts and fees and how everybody, it depends on the network you use.
Yeah. And again, the more the technology matures, the better it'll be. Right. It's like, you always have to remember AOL with the static, it would be like, shh, you've got mail, we're still at that stage of this new system, but by the end of 2022, we'll see way more adoption. And again, just a whole other year of maturity with these systems, and it'll just get better, and better, and hopefully be pretty much free to do the frictionless like transfer of money like all across the globe. It's cool.
So would now be a good time to talk about scams out there in the marketplace, because they do exist.
Yeah. You want to talk about your experience this week?
Yeah, it's pretty prolific, and it's really these scammers, because of course there's a lot of conversation around nefarious activity around the blockchain, and it's all about being super aware of where you're going to acquire your information, from contract address, et cetera. And even when you're doing research for companies, make sure that you're going through somebody like CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, and then choose the link within those. So for instance, if I was looking up XRP, I would go to CoinMarketCap. I would go to the Coin XRP, and then I would click the link that takes me to XRP's website, that type of thing. So my particular experience this week was, we have a coin that's called Clean Ocean, which is a great coin. I would encourage anybody to take a peek at it. It's about cleaning up the ocean, and they just recently partnered with Sea Shepherd. So anyway, that coin has been held for a while, but they went through a conversion. So they went to a new contract. So they upgraded their contract, which means that if you had 4 million coins, now it's going to be 4,000 coins based on whatever that conversion was. So I remember looking at my wallet going, well, I know I don't have that much money of that coin. And I was unaware of there being a contract shift. So in the process of going through the swapping process, I went to the Telegram, their Telegram page through CoinGecko. I went to the appropriate one, but I put a question in that group. I had to verify myself in Telegram as a human. I put a question, and almost immediately I got another comment in my Telegram thread from another Clean Ocean link, looked identical. And I'm like, because in the major thread for the one that came through CoinGecko, they're putting like every 2 seconds, we will not DM you. We will not do this. Do not participate. And this individual, whoever this was fishing me in. Well, how are you doing on your swap? Did you verify your wallet? You need to verify your wallet here. Please click here to verify your wallet. And if I was just numb to the bone, which sometimes I am, but this time I wasn't, I could have easily got into that thread of here's my wallet address, verify me, and they would have taken all my coins. So I think that's just a perfect example of being really aware of anything that crosses your path via email, making sure that you're going to the right locations to do your research, and always really double checking. I mean, it's so simple for somebody to change a website or duplicate a website to make it look like you're on an official page. So, there are guys, I shouldn't say that, there are individuals out there that are trying to sidewind you. So just be careful. You just have to be careful out there.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up and you shared an example. So it's really important. You never, ever send anybody your coins, ever. You never share your key is your key. It's no one else's key. So you don't say, if I see a lot of this, like, and I think scams are up like 500% this year, which is insane. If you think about all the algorithms that are out there censoring people in cryptocurrency that are producing really well-made content, they get shut down, but the scammers don't. It kind of blows my mind, but that's a side note. But if someone says, hey, send me 5,000 XRP, I'll send you 10,000 back, scam.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And when in doubt, reach out, right? When in doubt, reach out to myself, reach out to Kelli, and we will walk you through, we'll help you. We're here to guide anybody and everyone,
Well, exactly.
to make sure.
And what you were speaking of is I actually shared with Andrea this morning this video that came across a live stream. I'm looking at 11,000 people watching it, yada, yada, yada. And it was about XRP. We'll come to find out it's just on this loop, but on the side of it, it says send $5,000 of XRP, but I don't think they have the contract address on there. I'm not sure, and you'll get 10,000 back. And I'm like, was this done like 10 years? I mean, when was this done, or is this current? So yeah, I mean, sometimes I can be really quick to look at something and not look close enough. So we all have to be mindful of what crosses our path.
And just don't ever send anybody anything, and then you don't have to worry.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of safety, real quick, there is a new device that that was brought to my attention today. It's called the YubiKey. It's a device that you can use for your phones. It's called Yubico, YUBICO. I will also put it into the links below, but it's authentication processes that you can use for your phone. Excuse me. Oh, pardon me.
You're good.
Goodness gracious, but you can use it for your phone, your computers, etc. So I'm going to be looking into that. Oh my goodness gracious.
Kelli got a tickle in her throat. It always happens, right? I always would remember the rare times you go on a job interview and I'm sure this happened to everybody, but like you start coughing and then water starts pouring out of your eyes and it looks like you're crying and you're just trying to hold it back and you're like, oh, forget it. But now we have mute buttons. So Kelly's on mute now. Laughing.
I'm on mute. Got tears running down my eyes or down my
Yep.
cheeks. And then the other thing I ordered was that encrypted hard drive, a little thumb drive that's encrypted. Did I share that with you?
No, but please do. Please do. Yeah. So I've been looking into, like, I know like the new Windows version is coming out, and from some of the folks I've listened to, I haven't done a deep dive, but it's concerning with like all the different tracking, and they take your data and they make money off of it, which is why decentralization is so important. But you know, I know I've been looking into, like, it's a new Dell computer, and I heard pros and cons about their batteries, but it's run completely on Linux. And there's also Linux telephones now. So you don't have to have Apple, you don't have to have Windows. So, you know, maybe we can add that to a topic to kind of go over, because that's like a whole podcast in itself.
Yeah, I would like to do that, because a lot of the theft is happening with SIM card things, individuals taking over your SIM cards.
Yeah, and once someone has your SIM card, for like non-technical people, they can get your money. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So we'll definitely be covering that in the new year. I think next week we're kind of trying to plan something fun for everybody. I've been working on it, so it'll be a surprise for the next week's podcast. A little less serious than dystopian potential futures here.
Absolutely. Time for the joviality of it all.
Yep. So let's move forward and let's start talking about some adoption. You had shared a really interesting story with Michael Jordan.
Wow, that was really exciting. And actually, you're seeing that across the board. Now I can't remember exactly what all he was doing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I mean, I can totally jump in. So Michael Jordan created, it's actually really cool. It's like an application where you can interact with fans like during the game, and they pay you out with the Air token, like HEIR. He developed it with his son, which that must have been so much fun for them to do something like that together. But it you know, it really looks like a lot of these companies, and that's all based on Solana, like that app that Michael Jordan's building with his son. But you know, you see these big time players are marketing with these companies to promote education and awareness around cryptocurrency and blockchain, right? So just with Michael Jordan, like that's just one instance. And then I received an email from Voyager over the week, and they just partnered with the Professional Women's Soccer League, and again doing education and financial payments. So that, you know, that's just, again, we're just, you know, when you actually start to make the list, right? Because a couple weeks ago we talked about crypto.com bought the naming rights for, you know, the LA stadium, and now it's called the crypto.com arena. It's just marketing, more marketing. It's like, you know, when you start to see this on mainstream news, it's used to, you know, kind of program us, right? I always say television is telling you a vision through programming channels. Pick the channel you want to be programmed on, right?
Exactly.
So it's, you know, so we're getting programmed to start thinking about cryptocurrency and digital assets, and they do it through Hollywood stars, professional athletes. You know, you see not Mike Brady, Tom Brady, and you see you know, NASCAR drivers, like they're all starting to partner with all these different companies, and this is going to accelerate adoption. So this isn't going away, as much as Senator Warren and Senator Brown and Maxine Waters and all these people are being like, it's a scam, it's nefarious. No. The Hollywood stars, the adoption that's moving over, the 650 banks that are, moving forward to custody your Bitcoin, this is not going away. So we kind of just have to cancel out all the noise and look at what is, it's not their words, it's what's being done.
Well, I think that's what's really exciting too about, Michael Jordan's venture out there is because of his name, regardless of how you look at it, he is going to draw in a mass amount of people that are going to be like, oh, I better pay attention. So, I mean, especially, in that whole sporting arena. And I love the fact that, Voyager sent out that email in regards to the women's soccer. I mean, that's really important changes and integrations and adoptions that we're seeing. So the sporting arena is going to be big. And I don't know, I'm curious. I haven't done any research and I haven't heard anything about how the football clubs in the, over in Europe, who are going to be their big names, right? And who's going to be the leader on that side of the world, because that's a whole
so it was really interesting. So the World Cup for soccer, and this was like way before we started our podcast, but I took a photo of it and I was sending it to people because, like when you're in the stadium, they do all the advertisements like all around the stadium. And there was a huge picture of the Cardano logo.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So, I mean, every country around the world is adopting this blockchain technology. So, and it's going to be like everything. And it's not all going to be XRP and it's not all going to be Stellar, but it's going to be all of them. And eventually they're all going to be able to interoperate and talk with each other and create this frictionless exchange of value, whether that's an NFT, whether it's a digital currency, whether, like if I buy a piece of like tokenized virtual real estate and I want to gift it to Kelli for her birthday, like I can, it's just going to be really easy to share this value through the internet, which makes total sense. And it seems so simple, but it's so complicated, right? Because it's just like, we've talked about this before. A couple of years ago, before Bitcoin, I couldn't send you money through an email because it would make a copy. But now, because we have our privatized keys, it's now I can send you a piece of Bitcoin and it's yours, and then it takes it out of my account. It can't be counterfeited.
Absolutely.
Which is another reason why when you hear these people in the government say there's, all the money laundering and all the counterfeiting, no, this solves that problem. We've heard Brian Brooks. We've heard the CEO of Coinbase. You've heard the CEO of FTX. You've heard the CEO of Paxos. They're telling and educating the government that this solves this problem because it's transparent. And I wonder how much, and I'm not blaming anyone, but how much nefarious things go on in our government that we don't know about. Why are they so against transparency for themselves, but it's okay to track every single dollar that I do? Joe Schmo on the street who's going to buy my half and half. You really don't need to know that, right?
I mean, that is a whole nother podcast. That's like a week-long conversation. Actually, that's a lifetime conversation because, all the things that they know and are doing behind the scenes, who knows? But I think that movie Cryptopia that's available on Amazon Prime, if anybody hasn't watched it, it gives you a really good overview of the technology and how it's utilized and how they really paint the picture on what it looks like to have a virtual safety deposit box with private keys and how you can't alter the data, because if you do try to alter the data, then the entire block is completely screwed. So it doesn't, there's these safety mechanisms that are automatically built into this technology. And Absolutely. Who doesn't, the bad guys out there are like, wow, interesting.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about like cryptocurrency and like so many young people and like, just like people like us, we're like, we love everyone. Like, we're not into politics or any of this nonsense. We're like, just live your life and leave me alone. Like that's kind of how I vote. I don't care. I love you. Everyone has different thoughts. But like, when you think about John Deaton, right? So he's the lawyer for all XRP holders. So he's representing right now 65,000 XRP holders to the SEC. So you have the old SEC chairman, his name was Bill Hinman, and Bill Hinman was part of the Ethereum Foundation, right? Ethereum, as we know, got a free pass. They got regulated as a commodity, just like Bitcoin, even though they're not really regulated, but they say they are. At the end of the day, they got a free pass, right? Because everyone is being able to build on Ethereum. All the applications, they're being widely adopted, while companies like Ripple, Cardano, all these companies are being held to a different standard. And because so many regular people are involved now, we know, well, hey, Bill Hinman asked for this. It's not a privileged document, but there's pages and pages and pages of redactions that they got back from the SEC, which means that they crossed out every single word. Every single word got redacted. It wasn't even a privileged document. It's like if Kelli says to me, well, Andrea, I'm a lawyer and my client is Google, she can tell me that. She can't tell me anything about the case, but she could tell me that she's representing Google. And this was basically what the document was. So it's just like, John Deaton's like, hey, I'm not saying this guy did anything of a criminal nature, but maybe there's enough here for a private investigation. And because of this lawsuit, and because we see certain things are fair, certain things aren't fair, but it's really uniting us, right? It really is, because we are armed with education and knowledge now. And it's like, why is the SEC redacting this? The SEC they're looking like a really bad governmental organization that doesn't have
the consumers.
Yeah. And they don't have our best interests at heart, right? I mean, XRP has regulatory clarity in almost every jurisdiction in the world, except for the United States.
Right, which is just the oddest. I mean, the whole thing is just odd.
Right. And then, and to get back to the transparency, it's just like you're asking transparency from all of these blockchain companies, which it's all transparent. That's blockchain. It's transparent. You could go to the blockchain and look it up, but there's no transparency for any taxpayers to look at this document that the SEC redacted for Bill Hinman, who was the former SEC chairman, who said Ethereum is a commodity. It doesn't make any sense, but here we are.
No. So we're sitting we're just sitting on the sidelines watching, but watching it play out, because that's all we can do. But we can still join the energetic forces that, the light will be shown and we will continue to move ahead.
And that's what's happening, right? I mean, this is so scandalous. This is better than any TV show, right? You know what I mean? This is our moment of time to make these people accountable, make them do the right thing. You say you're going to do this. You say you're going to help us. You say you're going to protect us. Do it and be transparent about it. Because when I'm looking at these documents, and John Deaton was on a podcast with the pages, he was, throwing them up in the air. Every single page every word was crossed off. What do you have to hide? Curious. It's going to be real. The next several months, it's ooh, it's so juicy.
I could throw in a comment that would take us down a whole different thread, but I will keep it close to my chest right now. I'll throw us down a rabbit hole. So we don't want to go there right now, but there's lots of that going on out there in the world, isn't there?
Yeah. And it's all, and I think it's shining the light on the darkness.
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
darkness can transform into light. And that's what this is all about, and this is our moment of time where we need to stand in our truth. We need to stand in our power, and we need to shine our light to make things better moving forward for our children, our grandchildren, like everyone deserves to live like a healthy, happy life of like freedom and sovereignty. And that's what this whole movement is about.
Agree more. I couldn't agree more. All right. Well, gosh, I'm excited to whatever we're going to be doing for this next podcast. I know a little bit. I have to say it's kind of sitting in Andrea's her ring right now, but I am excited about it. And then we are closer to launching our website. And then also on Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, we have our monthly Q&A. So we are going to be including that information at the top of this podcast, along with all of these other links. We'd love to have you join us. It's a great opportunity to ask any questions about the market, how to get in, anything that you're researching. We are all learning together. I'm still, like I've said many times, I'm still very new to all of this myself. So, but I definitely know that I'm on the right train. So is there anything else you want to close with today outside of that information?
No, I think we covered everything. And yeah, definitely looking forward to Sunday. Bring all of your questions. And I guess until next week, just huddle on.
Your hosts for Two Women in Crypto are Andrea Caldiero and Kelli Lair. Andrea can be reached at digitalcoach@protonmail.com, or you can find her on LinkedIn at Andrea Caldiero. Kelli runs two programs related to cryptocurrency: The Future in You Cryptocurrency Group for Women, which can be found at news72media.com/thefuture, and The Gateway to Crypto, The Magic of Flipmir, through the Northern Gateway at thenortherngateway.org/cryptocurrency.